Hello, everyone, to our Trans Day of Remembrance New in Lumen. Trans Day of Remembrance and Resilience is a nationally recognized day of remembrance. It happens every year on November 20th, but because we're going to be on break on November 20th, we're celebrating it now. The Trans Day of Remembrance is a day to remember all of the countless transgender lives that have been lost due to acts of trans violence and trans hate. And so in the space today, you will see bios of the individuals who have died this year. And when I say this year, I mean October 1st of last year through TDOR this year. And because it's October 1st till now, because Trans Day of Remembrance is on November 20th. And then, yes. For our space today, we welcome you to sit in silence and remembrance. We will hear some reflections read by KK. The first reflection will be a poem written for a 2020 zine that was organized by Trans Day of Remembrance Forward Together's Resilience Art Project, and that very same zine is posted on the wall in the space. And that also that very same zine, if you like any of the poems or any of the art, is available on the table in the back. We invite you to take things as you feel fit or as you feel called to at the end of this service. And then the second poem that we'll have KK read at the end of this New in Lumen is written by Jayla Martin Beasley, whom some of you might know. She's a fantastic poet and writes really beautiful words and couldn't be here to read her own poem, and so KK is reading in her stead. And then our words of reflection today will be read by Ollie. We're very excited to have Ollie here, and I'll leave the introducing of Ollie to Lauren. But we'll get us started with KK.
I will be reading an offering by A.S. Smith. Stop me if you've heard this one before, so that I can tell it again and savor it. I am here, yet they think of me as a relic, not forgotten, but unglorified. A rough beast with a hashtag accent of defeat, a weak heart, and a Bethlehem slouch. I often find myself both sought after and shunned, unable to speak my own name if I wanted, internally emptied, made to mourn the loss of any meaning I might yet make. Like a silenced clap of thunder, technicolor turned to ashes. It seems that so many I've loved have wanted me dead, ground down into the ancestral mosaic of past and present gods. Earthly siblings, sweet apparitions, can we sanctify ourselves into new life? I cannot warn the others of the coming storm alone, cannot take shelter from storms already here, and look, just look. Everywhere blood clings to the leaves, soot gnaws at the lungs. There's no water for miles, and soon all you can say is, well, we should have listened to the thunder. Still, I was not the first to dream another world, to crave the teeming darkness of the ocean floor. Stories I would never fully know. With this, I exalt myself, shapeshift into my harboring skin. We have always been on the move. Lithe and wild and dangerous. We grow new lungs, spread our palms across the dirt and tend to new leaves. But I can never forget the body that came before. Acidic grief dries out along the cracks in this new flesh. Phantom bruises from them did hush up the clap, thief the color. I define myself as a shamari, a messenger with an offering, that you may call me rainbow serpent, sibling, lover, or freedom traveler. That in case language doesn't express desire but hides it, you must remember to reach only for the neither thing, to be righteously and unashamed of this grief until otherwise comes. Until that time, when we may name ourselves whole, if not holy, and stop eulogizing the project of living long enough to see that it has yet to come, and so can never die. Thank you.
Hi, I know many of you. My name is Lauren, or Dr. G, as some of the students call me. It is an honor to get to introduce Ollie McGowan today. So just a little bit about Ollie, in case you don't know them. So Ollie is a senior, double majoring in the political science and policy studies departments and minoring in women's gender and sexuality studies. But all of these are just labels for the constellation of queer mentors that Ollie has drawn together. From myself and Libby Coiner to Kevin Bork and Kirsten Ringelberg, many of whom are in this room, all of whom are in this room. Ollie has really created his own path here at Elon, and it has been a pleasure and a privilege to be part of that path. Ollie has been my teaching and learning apprentice twice for Intro to Gender Studies and for Health and Social Justice, and I've been frequently impressed by his capacity to meet others where they are, to slow down in his explanations, and to be compassionate where others may struggle to talk so openly about gender, power, identity. Together, we've worked with the local LGBTQ+ youth support group, Transcend Alamance, and we've started a queer salon, an intergenerational community of LGBTQ+ folks on and off Elon's campus. As one of my 2 SURE students last summer, Ollie completed innovative research into critical phenomenology, trans studies, and queer theories of childhood and the child, presenting a paper at an international professional feminist conference, Philosophia, in June 2023, fabulously titled, "Somebody Think of the Children." In our current independent research, Ollie is working on a new innovative project engaging public expressions of grief and grievability. And I would be giving a limited account of Ollie if I did not also mention that they work at the Gender and LGBTQIA Center, where they're an active part of CLEAR, our gender-based violence prevention program, as well as a member of Elon University's Wind Ensemble as an oboist, and involved with the Girl Scouts of America and the International Scouting Organization. Please join me in welcoming Ollie.
Hi, guys. I'm absolutely honored to be here today. I joke around a lot that all I ever want is all the people who I love in one room at the same time, and it's delightful because I get that today, and I just want to thank the organizers of this for that opportunity. So I'm going to start my story in the middle. It was last spring, and Lauren Gilmette was sitting at a table with me after a lovely meal surrounded by others who I love. I was leaving to go see some friends, James Hemingway, Morgan Seat, and my dearest Faith Miner. I think we were about to go on spring break. To be honest with you, the details are a little bit fuzzy to me. But all that really mattered was that I was surrounded by people who I loved deeply. For about 48 hours, I had a constant circle of support, laughter, and joy. It was a time where I was surrounded by a community that I had once dreamed of having. And I don't mean any offense to my mentors when I say this, but to have queer people in my life who are old, and by old I mean over the age of 25, has been absolutely life-changing for me. To be able to see people like myself growing up and just being okay has been something that I never had before and something that has really shaped who I am. I've learned that to not have a community is to be empty and alone, but to finally find a community is beautiful. Throughout my time at Elon, I've gotten brought into a community of brilliant, kind, hilarious people. I've had the honor to study with Dr. Ringelberg, who is the first person to really radicalize me, but also show me that queer people can be okay. Dr. Bork has showed me that sadness, grief, and pain are inevitable, but they are vessels to joy, hope, community, happiness. And Dr. Gilmette, who's a constant force of unconditional love and support to every student in her life, but specifically an unconditional force in mine. Libby Coiner has taught me the value of building spaces for holding room for every person's story, and that there's still a place even if we don't think we fit. I've gotten to work with some of the most brilliant people I know and who I am inspired by every day. Morgan, James, Faith, Daniel, Sun, just to name a few. While mentorship has been important to shaping who I have become both academically and personally, learning how to build community and be in community has been life-saving. At Elon, we tend to see community building as a chore, an assignment, something that we have to add to our Outlook calendar, a meeting that probably could have just been an email, and we lose the hope that it gives us. Finding community is hard, building community is hard, it is messy and no one's schedules line up, but we know it is valuable. That's why we study it, practice it, talk about it in classes. We encourage students to find mentors, friends, roommates. I think there's something magical about community that we cannot study, we cannot analyze. We are not able to pin it down. Maybe I'm naive. I still look for fairies in the woods sometimes and firmly believe that trolls are real. But there's a magic in queer people loving each other, caring for each other, and seeing each other simply as they are. I think this magic exists constantly once we find it. It happens at kitchen tables, walking to class, in research meetings, in blasting Lady Gaga in the car on your way to Target. My personal research has led me to explore intergenerational kinship, which is hard to build and hard to maintain because everybody's at a different stage in their life, and there's languages and experiences that may cause friction. It's hard to love each other, particularly with the loss that queer and trans people face. People are messy and loud, which makes community messy and loud. And community building and the magic that comes with it does not happen on accident. We must make the conscious choice to look for it, to build it, to maintain it, and it requires maintenance from all of us. It means showing up when maybe we don't want to, or we don't think it can fit into our calendars. It means taking care of ourselves and sitting with each other's hard emotions, and recognizing that we will not be perfect all of the time. It means not understanding, not being right, being uncomfortable, listening, and growing. It's hard, and I also think it means making the choice to love and be loved. Being loved is hard, it is scary, it requires vulnerability and the potential for loss. To be in community means risking losing those who are dear to you, but it also means getting to have people who are dear. I firmly believe that if we make the choice, there will always be an extra plate of food, an extra chair to pull up, one more spot at the table. Community is life-giving and life-saving. Going back to that random day in the spring, what I did not first mention was the 2.5 hours I spent sobbing to Lauren Gilmet in her office. I felt such a profound grief, emptiness, and loss that I was not sure I would be able to survive it. It was like a heavy fog had nestled into my chest and gotten around my eyes. It was endless and unyielding, and Lauren sat there with me, not trying to make it go away, not trying to drag me out of it, just sat there and listened. There was no amount of resources or referrals that could have helped me at that point. What I needed to be was around people who understood me, who understood what this heaviness felt like, who understood where I was at. So we went to class. I got to see James and Morgan, and the next 3 days, plans were made for lunch, plans were made to go to a panel, plans were made for after spring break to hang out, go get coffee. I was constantly surrounded by those who love me and who I love back. Faith came over in the evenings. Morgan, Daniel, and I became super close during that time, and having the ability to expand my community was very settling to me. Libby was a constant friend who gave me zines as well as crafting supplies and a space to create things. Dr. Ringelberg kept me in line by telling me to go eat breakfast and do the reading for our research meetings. I reread a lot of the books that I'd read in Kevin's classes and found stories of queer people who've never existed, but still I saw myself in them. My life was illuminated by a constellation of queer folks. All of the people I have named have saved my life, loved me when I felt unlovable, and in turn has allowed me to love them and be in community with them. I want to part with a quote from Judith Butler in their book Precarious Life, because that's what I've been reading recently, and I'm obsessed with it. It goes, "If we have lost, then it follows that we have had, that we have desired, and that we have struggled to find the conditions for our desire. We sit here surrounded by the photos of those we have lost in the last year, and we grieve. We grieve the lives of people we may not have known, the lives of people we have not yet lost, the limitless futures of trans people that are cut short by systemic violence, and parts of ourselves that we find in the faces of others. I want to remind us all to lean onto each other, to sing and cry with each other, to make room in our Outlook calendars, and to tell each other that we love each other. We all must choose to build community. There will be pain, grief, sorrow. We will all lose something, but to lose something is to be filled with love, joy, laughter, and hope." Thank you.
I'm going to be reading Jayla's poem entitled "A Letter to the Trans People in My Life," and also Albert Einstein. Here's something that you taught me. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, merely change its shape. You cannot destroy energy, but some people still try. The creation of energy is similarly impossible, but you still manage to do it every single day. And I thought I knew about change. More like an afterthought. I thought change was like a straight, unstoppable cosmic line of cause to effect, or effect to effect, caterpillar to butterfly, sunrise to sunset, like lost love to a broken heart. An impossible force, entropic immutable, limitless light. But you see, what I didn't even know to look for. You teach me something new every day. But change, I ask you, what is change? You say demanding, like heavy breaths turning to vapor in the cold air, like the cold of a metal bench becoming the shiver in your bones, and like glass mugs breaking into pieces on the floor, then gluing it back together, then breaking it again, and gluing together, and breaking it again, and gluing it together, and breaking it again. You taught me change is a fucking process, like staples into paper, like a knife pressed between your flesh, remaking yourself anew, twisting currents of electricity up and down wires and veins, like energy, ricocheting like laughter off bedroom walls, and love palpable like currents through the air, like energy vibrating from needle to ink, from ink to skin, and the pain feels like possibility. You taught me change is also a blessing, but not everyone gets it. Change is not good or bad, merely life in motion. Life is outrunning a wave of light, hitting the shadows first and waiting for hope to come. Life for you cannot be breathe in and breathe out. Life must be intake, compression, combustion, exhaust, intake, compression, combustion, exhaust. Pistons churning, constantly running, creating energy or you will disappear because this world is determined to starve you out. Fissions colliding, sunlight burning, glass like syllables cutting through the air, shattering faster than you can glue it back together. You said, this shit is hard, and you have to get good at starving. Maybe change is not creating energy, but taking whatever you can get and making it beautiful. Beauty, as infinite as electrons that move out, energy lives in motion, unknowable and undefinable. Bursts of epiphany and self-contained combustions, scattering particles of light and thought chasing freedoms across the world. But your life is spent fighting, forced to prove that which you already know is true. We do not let trans beauty just live. We keep energy bound to earth. We don't let the sparks of thought and mind shoot up into space and into the vast cosmic entropy. Instead, let it spiral back down the pillars of creation into loss and die out. Because we punish change in all its forms. We punish the trans body, the trans mind, the beauty of change, of being the same you always were, just happier, the same, just different, the same, just changing. Or worse, forced to be still and in shadow, stagnant energy, holding your pain in your arms and throat, holding hope in your chest, standing so still, holding your breath and waiting for light to come. You taught me, energy cannot be created or destroyed, merely change its state. You cannot destroy energy, but some people still try. The creation of energy isn't impossible. You create energy every single day because you are an impossible force, entropic, immutable. Change itself, limitless light. Thank you.